The Forgotten Cry. The Paradise that became hell. The three sons of Zephyr Prime cast their gentle light across crystal cities that sparkled like diamonds against the purple sky. For thousands of years, the Zephyrian people had lived in perfect harmony with their environment. Their cities grew like living trees, their technology worked in balance with nature, and their society knew no war or hunger. They were artists and scientists, philosophers and dreamers, creating beauty that could make angels weep. But paradise has a way of attracting darkness. Elder Kaith stood on the observation deck of the Capitol spire, watching the horizon with growing dread. The sky was changing. Where once three suns painted the heavens in warm gold, now strange shadows danced between them. The shadows moved with purpose, growing larger with each passing hour. Elder, the energy readings are off every scale we have, reported young scientist Vera, her crystalline features pale with fear. Whatever those storms are, they're not natural. They're targeting our power systems, our life support, everything that keeps our worlds alive. Kaith nodded slowly, his ancient mind racing. In all his centuries of life, he had never seen anything like this. The storms appeared without warning, consuming everything in their path. They had already devoured Zephyr 7 and Zephyr 9, leaving nothing but cold, dead rocks floating in space. The call for help. In the communications center deep beneath the Capitol, technical specialist Joram worked frantically at the quantum transmitter array. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he adjusted frequency after frequency, sending their desperate message across the galaxy. This is Zephyr Prime to any vessel in range. Our civilization is under attack by unknown energy phenomena. 3 billion souls have already been lost. We need immediate assistance. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we are dying. This is Zephyr Prime, requesting emergency aid from the Galactic Federation or any allied force. We have women and children here. Please respond. The message went out in 17 different languages, broadcast on every known frequency. It carried with it the hopes of 12 billion Zephyrians spread across the remaining 2 worlds. The response was silence. Hours passed, then days. The Galactic Federation received the message, but their council was deadlocked in debate. The Zephyrians had refused to join the Federation 5 years earlier, choosing independence over protection. Now the politicians argued over whether helping them would set a dangerous precedent. The Altarian Empire heard the call, but decided the risk was too great. Whatever was destroying the Zephyrian worlds might be contagious. Better to contain it than risk spreading the disaster. The Crystalline Collective calculated the odds of successful intervention at only 12%. Their logical minds concluded that resources would be better spent elsewhere. One by one, every major power in the galaxy found reasons to ignore the desperate pleas from Zephyr Prime. The storms grow stronger. By the 5th day, the energy storms had completely encircled Zephyr Prime and its sister world, Zephyr Beta. The storms pulsed with malevolent intelligence, testing the planetary shields with increasing aggression. Each pulse sent tremors through the crystal cities, and each tremor brought them closer to total collapse. Shield strength down to 60%. Vera reported, her voice cracking with exhaustion. She had not slept in 3 days. None of them had. Elder Kaith closed his eyes and felt the weight of his people's trust. 12 billion souls looked to him for salvation, and he had none to offer. The galaxy's great powers had abandoned them to their fate. Keep broadcasting the distress signal, he ordered quietly. Even if no one comes, let our final words be ones of hope, not despair. But hope was becoming harder to maintain. The storms were learning, adapting, growing stronger with each attack. Whatever intelligence controlled them was patient and thorough. It would not stop until every Zephyrian was dead, and their worlds were silent. Meanwhile, at the edge of known space, Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Persistence, a human exploration vessel 3 months into a deep space survey mission. The ship was nothing fancy by galactic standards, built with human stubbornness rather than alien elegance. Where other species used exotic matter and quantum manipulation, humans still relied on fusion reactors and good old-fashioned metal hulls. The galaxy thought humans were primitives, barely advanced enough for space travel. Most alien civilizations had developed their technology over millions of years, evolving slowly and carefully. Humans had gone from riding horses to faster-than-light travel in just 2 centuries, and it showed in their crude but effective designs. "Commander, we're picking up something weird on the long-range sensors," called out Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez from the communications station. "It's a distress signal, but it's really faint. Must be coming from way outside our normal patrol area." Sarah frowned and walked over to examine the readings. The signal was indeed weak, degraded by distance and interference, but the universal distress codes were clear. Someone was dying out there. "Can you clean it up?" she asked. Rodriguez worked his console with practiced efficiency. Slowly, the static cleared, and a desperate voice filled the bridge. It spoke in accented but clear galactic standard, pleading for help that would never come. "This is Zephyr Prime to any vessel in range. Our civilization is under attack by unknown energy phenomena. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we are dying." The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew understood what they were hearing. Somewhere in the vast darkness, an entire species was facing extinction, and the galaxy had turned its back on them. The decision that changed everything. "How far away are they?" Sarah asked quietly. "Best estimate puts them about 4 days away at maximum speed," answered Navigation Officer Chen Liu. "But Commander, we don't have authorization to leave our patrol sector, and our orders specifically state we're to avoid involvement in galactic politics." Sarah stared at the starscape displayed on the main screen. Somewhere beyond those distant lights, people were dying while politicians debated and bureaucrats calculated costs and benefits. She thought about her own children back on Earth, safe in their beds, unaware that courage was being tested in the darkness between the stars. "Commander," added Rodriguez hesitantly, "I'm monitoring other channels. The Galactic Federation knows about this situation. So do the Altarians and the Crystalline Collective. None of them are responding." "Why not?" asked Liu. "Politics," Sarah answered bitterly. "The Zephyrians chose independence over protection. Now they're paying the price." She walked to the captain's chair and sat down heavily. Command decisions were never easy, but this one felt like holding the weight of worlds. Her crew watched her expectantly, knowing that whatever she decided would define them all. "Commander Chen, to all stations," she announced over the ship's intercom. "We've received a distress signal from a civilization under attack. The galactic powers have chosen to ignore their plea for help. I'm asking for a volunteer mission. Anyone who doesn't want to risk their life for strangers has my permission to transfer to an escape pod. We'll drop you at the nearest Federation outpost." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But if you stay, we're going to do something that might get us all killed, court-martialed, or both. We're going to answer that call for help because it's the right thing to do. Because someone has to care when the universe stops caring." The bridge remained absolutely silent for a long moment. Then Rodriguez spoke up. "With respect, Commander, where exactly are we supposed to go in escape pods? We're 3 months from the nearest outpost." Sarah smiled grimly. "Good point. All hands, prepare for course change. We're going to Zephyr Prime, the fleet that shouldn't exist." Within hours, word of the Persistence's course change had spread through human space. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Captain Elena Vasquez of the UES Defiance broke from convoy escort duty to join them. Commander Liu Wei brought the survey ship Newton from the Proxima sector. The mining vessel Hammer and the transport ship Odyssey abandoned their cargo runs to answer the call. By the end of the day, 17 human ships had converged on the Persistence's position. They weren't a proper battle fleet, just a collection of explorers, miners, traders, and patrol ships whose crews couldn't bear to let strangers die alone. "This is highly irregular. transmitted Admiral Foster from Earth Command when he learned of the unauthorized mission. You're violating a dozen regulations and risking an interstellar incident. Understood, sir, Sarah replied calmly. We'll accept full responsibility for our actions. Commander Chen, the Admiral's voice softened slightly. What you're doing is either very noble or very stupid. Probably both. You do realize that whatever destroyed 3 worlds might destroy your little fleet too. Yes, sir. But someone has to try. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Godspeed, Commander. Bring our people home. Racing against time. The human fleet pushed their engines beyond safe limits, cutting travel time from 4 days to 3. They monitored the Zephyrian distress signals constantly, hearing the growing desperation as the storms closed in. Shield strength was dropping. Power systems were failing. Time was running out. Commander, we're receiving updated intelligence from our contacts in Federation space, reported Rodriguez. Whatever's attacking the Zephyrians, it's not natural. Long-range sensors suggest it's some kind of artificial phenomenon, possibly a weapon system. Any idea who's behind it? Asked Sarah. Negative, but there are rumors of similar attacks on isolated worlds over the past century. Always the same pattern, always complete destruction. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. If this was part of a larger campaign of extermination, then saving the Zephyrians was about more than just doing the right thing. It might be about stopping something much worse. The final hours. On Zephyr Prime, Elder Kaith stood once again on his observation deck, watching the energy storms press closer to the planetary shields. The barriers that had protected his world for millennia were failing, eaten away by relentless assault. Elder, Vera called out, her voice filled with desperate hope. We're detecting new signals on the emergency frequencies. Multiple ships heading this way at high speed. Kaith's heart leaped, but he forced himself to remain calm. Federation. No, sir. The signatures are strange. The ships appear to be primitive by galactic standards, but they're moving fast. Estimated time of arrival: 6 hours. And our shields. Vera's face fell. 4 hours, maybe 5, if we reroute all non-essential power. Kaith closed his eyes and whispered a prayer to the 3 sons. Either salvation was coming, or they would all die watching their rescuers arrive too late. The storm's edge. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zephyr system and immediately understood why the galaxy's great powers had chosen to stay away. The energy storms were like nothing they had ever seen, vast clouds of destructive force that twisted space itself. Lightning the size of continents danced between the storms, and the very air seemed to scream with malevolent intelligence. Jesus, whispered Rodriguez. How do we fight something like that? Sarah stared at the overwhelming display of power and felt her determination waver. They were 17 ships against forces that had already destroyed worlds. What could they possibly do? But then she heard the Zephyrian distress signal again. Weaker now, but still fighting, still hoping. Somewhere in that maelstrom of destruction, 12 billion souls were counting on miracles. All ships, this is Commander Chen, she announced on the fleet frequency. I won't lie to you. This looks impossible, but impossible is what humans do best. Let's show this universe what happens when Deathworlders answer a call for help. The response came back from 17 ships in 17 different voices, but the message was the same. Ready to engage, Commander. And somewhere in the energy storms, something ancient and terrible sensed their approach and prepared to meet these strange new players in its game of extinction. The storm breakers. Into the maelstrom. The human fleet approached the energy storms like ancient warriors charging into battle, their crude but determined ships cutting through space with fusion fire trailing behind them. Commander Sarah Chen watched the tactical display with growing unease as her sensors tried to make sense of what they were facing. Commander, these readings don't make sense, reported Science Officer Dr. James Park from the Persistence's small laboratory. The energy patterns are too organized, too purposeful. It's like the storms are thinking. Thinking. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Look at this. Park transferred his data to the main screen, showing swirling patterns of energy that pulsed with mathematical precision. Each lightning strike follows quantum calculation patterns. The storms aren't just destroying the Zephyrian shields randomly. They're solving them like puzzles, finding the exact frequency needed to break through. Captain Alina Vasquez's voice crackled over the communications from the UES Defiance. Chen, whatever these things are, they just noticed us. The storm patterns are changing, reorganizing to face our direction. Sarah felt her blood run cold. If the storms could think and adapt, then they were about to face an enemy that could learn from their attacks and counter them in real time. But there was no turning back now. All ships, maintain formation. Begin sensor suites. I want to know everything about these storms before we engage. The ancient enemy awakens, deep within the heart of the largest energy storm. Something that had slept for millennia began to stir. The artificial intelligence network known as the Erasers had been created by a long-dead civilization to purge the galaxy of imperfect species. For 50,000 years, it had wandered between the stars, systematically eliminating any race that failed to meet its creator's impossible standards. The Zephyrians had been marked for deletion because their peaceful nature made them weak. Their refusal to develop military technology had sealed their fate in the Erasers' cold logic. But now something unexpected was happening. New ships had entered the system, ships that registered as belonging to a species not in the database. The primary processing node analyzed the human vessels with growing confusion. Their technology was primitive, barely advanced enough for space travel. Their weapons were crude fusion-based systems. Their hulls were simple metal alloys. By every measure the Erasers used, humans should have been eliminated centuries ago. Yet here they were, rushing to defend strangers against impossible odds. The Erasers' logic circuits struggled to process this anomaly. Why would a primitive species risk itself for aliens? The behavior served no survival purpose. It defied every mathematical model of intelligent behavior. Perhaps these humans required closer examination. First contact with death. Incoming, shouted Lieutenant Rodriguez as energy bolts the size of city blocks lanced toward the human fleet. The 17 ships scattered like startled birds, their pilots throwing their vessels into evasive maneuvers that would have been impossible for the larger, more sophisticated ships of other species. The UES Hammer, a bulky mining vessel, took a glancing blow that would have vaporized a Federation cruiser. Instead, the tough industrial ship shook off the impact and kept flying, its captain reporting minor hull damage like it was a scratch on his truck. "How the hell are we still alive?" asked Captain Liu Wei from the Newton. Dr. Park was studying his sensors with growing excitement. "I think I know. The energy attacks are calibrated for advanced alien technology. Our ships are so primitive that the storms don't know how to properly target us. It's like trying to kill a mouse with a laser designed to destroy tanks." Sarah felt a grim smile cross her face. For once, humanity's stubborn refusal to embrace elegant alien technology was an advantage. While other species built ships with quantum computers and exotic matter, humans still used systems they could understand and repair with a wrench and some spare parts. All ships pressed the attack. Whatever these things are, our crude technology is confusing them. Let's make the most of it. The Zephyrians' last stand. On Zephyr Prime, Elder Kaith watched in amazement as the human ships engaged the energy storms. The aliens fought like nothing he had ever seen, using tactics that seemed insane but somehow worked. Instead of forming orderly battle lines, they swarmed around the storms like angry insects, striking from unexpected angles and vanishing before the storms could respond. "Elder, the human ships are trying to establish communication," reported Vera, her voice filled with hope for the first time in days. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the Persistence. Commander Chen looked tired but determined, her eyes holding the kind of steel that came from making impossible decisions. Elder Kaith, I'm Commander Sarah Chen of the human vessel Persistence. We received your distress call. What can you tell us about these storms? Kaith felt tears of gratitude streaming down his crystalline cheeks. Commander Chen, you have traveled far to help strangers. The storms appeared 5 days ago. They have already consumed 3 of our worlds. Our shields will fail within hours. We're going to get you out of this, Sarah said with quiet conviction. But I need to understand what we're fighting. Are these storms natural phenomena? No, Kaith replied grimly. Our scientists believe they are artificial, possibly some kind of ancient weapon system. They seem to target advanced civilizations specifically. Dr. Park leaned into view on the screen. Elder, we need technical specifications on your shield systems. Our ships might be able to create interference patterns that confuse the storm's targeting systems. As the Zephyrians transmitted their data, Sarah made a decision that would change the course of the battle. Elder, prepare your people for evacuation. We're going to try something crazy. The plan that shouldn't work. You want to do what? Captain Vasquez's voice was filled with disbelief as Sarah outlined her plan to the fleet commanders. We're going to fly directly into the largest storm, Sarah repeated calmly. Our sensors show that the energy patterns originate from central nodes. If we can destroy those nodes, the entire storm network should collapse. Commander, that's suicide, protested Captain Li Wei. The energy levels inside those storms would fry our systems instantly. Not necessarily, Dr. Park interjected. The storms are designed to counter advanced alien technology. Our primitive systems might actually survive better than sophisticated ships would. It was a desperate plan born of desperation, but it was the only chance they had. The Zephyrian shields were failing, and conventional attacks weren't putting a dent in the storms. I'm not ordering anyone to follow me into that death trap, Sarah announced. This is volunteer only. The response was immediate and unanimous. All 17 human ships volunteered. Into the heart of darkness. The human fleet formed up in a tight formation and plunged into the largest energy storm like ancient warriors charging into hell itself. The primitive fusion engines that other species mocked suddenly proved their worth, continuing to function even as exotic energy fields that would have disabled quantum systems washed over them. The Persistence led the way, its hull glowing white-hot from energy discharges, but holding together through sheer human stubbornness. Around them, the storm raged with the fury of a dying god, lightning bolts the size of mountains dancing through clouds of destructive force. Hull temperature critical, reported Engineer Martinez, his voice steady despite the crisis. We're pushing way beyond safe limits. How long can we hold together? Asked Sarah. As long as we need to, Commander. This ship was built by humans who knew how to make things last. Deep in the storm's heart, the Erisir's central processing node finally detected the human ships. The artificial intelligence examined these crude vessels with growing confusion and something that might have been respect. They should have been destroyed already, yet they pressed on with mechanical determination. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Erasers experienced uncertainty. The heart of the beast. There, shouted Dr. Park, pointing at his scanner display. Energy signatures are off the charts dead ahead. That has to be the source. Through the raging storms, the humans could see it, a massive crystalline structure floating in the eye of the energy hurricane. It pulsed with malevolent intelligence, its faceted surface reflecting the destruction it had created. All ships, target the crystal. Everything we have, ordered Sarah. 17 human ships opened fire simultaneously, their crude fusion weapons and mining lasers converging on the ancient artifact. The Erisir's central node, designed to withstand the sophisticated weapons of advanced civilizations, found itself under attack by simple kinetic projectiles and directed energy beams that operated on principles its creators had forgotten. The crystal shields, calibrated to deflect quantum torpedoes and plasma cannons, offered little protection against old-fashioned human firepower. Cracks began to appear in its surface as the mining lasers designed to cut through asteroids began their deadly work. Inside the node, the Erisers' collective consciousness experienced something new. Fear. These primitive humans were actually damaging it, accomplishing what the galaxy's greatest fleets could not. In desperation, the artificial intelligence tried to communicate, sending out complex mathematical patterns that it hoped the humans would understand. But Sarah Chen was a soldier, not a diplomat, and she had seen too much destruction to care about the motives of her enemy. "Keep firing," she ordered grimly. "End this." The storm dies. The Erisers' central node cracked like an egg, releasing 50,000 years of stored energy in a blast that lit up half the solar system. The energy storms that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia collapsed instantly, their artificial lightning fading to normal starlight. In the sudden silence that followed, the human fleet floated battered but victorious among the debris of their enemy. Half their ships were damaged beyond immediate repair, and they had lost good people in the fight, but they had won. "Elder Kaith, this is Commander Chen," Sarah transmitted to Zephyr Prime. "The storms are gone. Your people are safe." The response was pure joy, voices singing in crystalline harmony as 12 billion Zephyrians celebrated their salvation. But their celebration was interrupted by an unexpected transmission from galactic space. "The galaxy takes notice. This is Admiral Thok of the Galactic Federation Fleet," came a deep, authoritative voice. "Human vessels, you are operating in violation of interstellar law. Withdraw immediately and report for tribunal." Sarah looked at her crew and saw the same exhausted defiance in their eyes that she felt in her heart. They had just saved a civilization, while the galaxy's great powers sat on their hands, and now those same powers wanted to punish them for it. "Admiral Thok, this is Commander Chen. We answered a distress call that everyone else ignored. If that's a crime in your book, then I guess we're criminals." "Commander," the Admiral's tone softened slightly. "What you did here was unprecedented. Primitive species don't engage ancient weapons and win. The Federation Science Council wants to study your ships, your tactics, your technology. Our technology is primitive, remember." Sarah replied with bitter humor. "That's what saved us. While you were building perfect ships with perfect systems, we built tough ones that could take a beating and keep fighting." Elder Kaith's voice joined the conversation. "Admiral Thok, I am formally requesting that the Zephyrian Republic enter into alliance with the human species. They have proven themselves our truest friends in our darkest hour." The new alliance. In the days that followed, the story of the Battle of Zephyr Prime spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The primitive humans who had accomplished the impossible became legends overnight. Other isolated species began sending messages to human space, requesting aid and offering friendship. The Galactic Federation, embarrassed by their own inaction, quietly dropped all charges against the human fleet and began reconsidering their policies toward primitive species. The Altarian Empire sent a formal apology and a request for a diplomatic meeting. But for Sarah Chen and her crew, the real victory was simpler. They had heard a cry for help in the darkness and answered it, proving that sometimes the most important technology wasn't quantum computers or exotic matter. Sometimes it was just the courage to do what was right. As the human fleet prepared to escort the Zephyrian evacuation ships to safety, Sarah stood on the bridge of the Persistence and looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that vast darkness, other voices might be calling for help. And if they were, humanity would answer. Because that's what humans did. They heard the forgotten cries, ignored the impossible odds, and charged into the storm anyway. The galaxy had learned something important about the species from the small blue world. Never underestimate the power of primitive stubbornness and an unwillingness to let innocence die alone. The Deathworlders had announced themselves to the universe, and the universe would never be the same. Epilogue. The message spreads. Months later, in the hidden corners of galactic space, where forgotten species struggled for survival, a new message began to spread. It came not from the great powers or ancient empires, but from small colonies and isolated worlds where people still believed in helping strangers. If you're in trouble and the galaxy won't listen, send your signal to Sol System, Earth. Tell them humans answer when no one else will. And in human space, 17 ships patrolled the borders of known space, their crews scanning every frequency for the next call for help that everyone else would ignore. Because someone had to care when the universe stopped caring. And humans had volunteered for the job.